Okay, it's almost 9 p.m. India time, and this is the 19th session of this summit, and all the sessions have started on time. So this is one thing we really got it right. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. I'm Jatin. I'm one of the co-founder of eChai Network. We host engaging startup networking meetups in 25 global cities. Uh, and for a long period, this is 12th year for us. For the first 8-9 years, we were primarily in one city in Gujarat. But in last 2 years, we were able to scale up everywhere in 25 global cities. And today the good thing is Neha is with us. We started our Toronto chapter at her incubator, and she has been a great support for our Toronto chapter. So this is a bit of background about eChai. This CoRise Summit is in a way our sincere and committed effort to bring diverse set of speakers from all over the world to come and share their experiences and interact with the early stage founders. This program is organized with Vadhwani Foundation. So right now we'll have some friends, some startups who will be live on Zoom, and it is getting live stream on eChai's Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, and also Vadhwani Foundation's social media handle. So we'll have a lot of people who will be watching this video. So we'll take some questions towards the second half of the session. And today we have 4 awesome panelists who have joined in. So the brief format would be each of them will be introducing themselves and about their firm, and we'll just get started with our discussions. So Neha, thank you so much for joining in. If you can briefly introduce your background and about TBDC. Yeah.
Sure, absolutely. Hi, everyone. I am Neha Behel. I am the CEO of Toronto Business Development Center, and we are ideally the first incubator established by the City of Toronto and Province of Ontario back in 1990. And probably calling your business a startup wasn't a good idea, or the term wasn't coined enough. So yes, we've been a very old organization helping businesses, helping new businesses, emerging businesses. And we're also one of the designated partners with the federal government for the Startup Visa program. And this has been the fastest immigration program for entrepreneurs, where the program's mandate is to attract international entrepreneurs to be accessing North America and US market from Canada.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining in. Vinutha, if you can briefly introduce about your background and about T-Hub.
Hi, everybody. This is Vinitha here. I'm the director at T-Hub. I head ecosystem office. I've been working with the startup ecosystem for over 10 years now. And currently with T-Hub, you want me to introduce T-Hub also right now,
Yes,
Jatin?
Yeah. Yes.
So I'm sure a lot of you have heard about T-Hub. T-Hub is based out of Telangana. It is a government of Telangana, and it's an initiative which has really furthered the growth of startup ecosystem in Telangana, and especially in Hyderabad. We broadly work under 3 capabilities. We work with startups under startup innovation, wherein we have a whole lot of programs from very early stage startups to growth stage and companies which are looking to scale beyond borders. So Neha, I will talk to you later. And then we have corporate innovation, which is again a big part of what we do, where we work with corporates not only to figure out their innovation needs and get them the startups that they would like to work with, but we also do entrepreneurship courses for various corporates so that it becomes a basic fabric of their way of doing business. And then there is ecosystem innovation. So my office sits under ecosystem innovation. Again, this is a very exciting part of what we do at T-Hub. So ecosystem office especially is a central office within T-Hub, which manages and works with partners, investors, mentors, service providers from across India and across the world. So that's what we do in ecosystem innovation, which is a very exciting part of my job, at least. And of course, we are also involved in capacity building exercises under EO, where there are certification programs that we're coming up, a mentor certification program. We work with angel investors. So there's a whole lot of things and with the crisis, there are a lot of things that are changing also.
Correct.
So it's a very interesting time to be in this space.
Thank you so much for joining, Vinutha. Rajesh, if you can briefly introduce about you and Arka Venture Labs.
Sure. Thanks, Jatin, for bringing me in. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, very clearly.
Okay, great. So I run Arka Venture Labs. So Arka Venture Labs is a B2B focused venture fund, investing in Indian B2B startups, looking into the US markets. And we also invest in US startups having offices in India. Probably you can say is that we are the first fund which kind of focuses on a B2B space and between the India and US corridor. We started in around 2 years back. We have made 9 investments so far and just closed 2 more term sheets. So we'll be probably closing 11 investments in probably in a 1 month's time. And prior to Arca Venture Labs, I was basically with IBM for 17 and a half years in different roles.
Wow, awesome. Thank you so much, Radesh, for joining in. If you can briefly introduce about you and Generation Z.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody. And thank you for inviting actually to join you today. I'm from Generation Startup Corporate Accelerator, which is based in Moscow, in Russia. We are a part of an institution which is called Russian Venture Company, and which is a fund of funds and one of the major institutes of development of innovation ecosystem in Russia. So within our activities, we started at 2013 as a classic accelerator at the federal level. So we had different batches in different industries, starting from agrotech and finishing by fintech and medtech. But since 2018, we changed our model, and now we are doing very tailor-made and concrete programs for our corporate partners. So we are working with Russian and international corporations in order to help them to scout and to find relevant technologies and startups, to accelerate them, and then to accompany in order to implement these solutions within these corporations. So actually, for now, we are working in transportation industry, but we also worked in FMCG with PepsiCo, Unilever. We worked in pharma industry with Ferring Pharmaceuticals. So we have a lot of corporate partners in Russia and abroad,
Awesome.
as well as startups.
Thank you so much, Annie, for joining in. Neha, there is a lot of attention for a startup visa program. There is a lot of interest among founders from all over about what that program is. So if you can just briefly tell us what about that program and about the role that Toronto Business Development Center plays in that.
Sure, absolutely. So, Toronto Business Development Center, as I said, is one of the designated entities with the federal government for the startup visa program, and we've been one of the first designated entities as well. So this program was a pilot program with the federal government from 2013 to 18. And the mandate was the same: attracting international entrepreneurs to be based out of Canada to access North America overall and the US market as well. So 2019, this was made a permanent program, and there are 3 tracks in the program. There is a VC track, there's an angel track, and then there's an incubator track. They're all designated entities in all 3 tracks. And within the angel and the VC track, ideally a startup has to raise a certain amount of money with a designated angel or a designated VC to get a letter of support. Now, a letter of support is a letter for the founders and the business that this designated entity is good to support you to kickstart in Canada, right? So we've seen with our experience as well, the incubator track has been the most popular because you also get a lot of support after you get approved for the program. So our core of the program still involves founder development, one-on-one advisory, access to capital, access to talent with our university collaborations and everything else. And the main aim is definitely opening up the US market, which is the biggest market everybody wants to go to, right? So we aim at being that startup destination where we make this, the playing field is leveled. Now it's here or US, it's one and the same thing. So access to US becomes very much easier. Also within this program, the idea is to bet on risk takers. The idea is to bet on innovators. So in the last year, let's say from last May to this June, we've approved about 60 startups and everything. So we're sector agnostic as well. So everything from pre-revenue, probably they had patents which they wanted to commercialize, to 10 million ARR. This has been the range that we've looked at. And obviously India. So I think the geographies are very, very interesting to look at. We have We have anything and everything from India, UK, US, China, Turkey, Hong Kong, Russia, Kazakhstan, Hungary. I mean, you say it and we have it. And obviously, me being from India, India was one of my natural markets to go back to see what kind of traction we'll get. So I'd say 40% of what we have right now are Indian startups.
Awesome.
And it is literally from pre-revenue stage where they have built it, and we understand they were serial entrepreneurs and they'll do it again, to one of the very big companies in startups in India, which is called Zaggle. It's a fintech which has got over 10 million ARR to be a part of the program.
Yep. And yeah, how startups can get started with that? They have to apply in a certain website, or
Yeah,
how?
so with us it's an online application, and obviously because immigration is involved, there's a lot of due diligence we do at our end as well. So it's an absolute online application, and we get started with the first interview that usually happens with me, just for the interest part of it, that we want this fits our portfolio of startups to be in and everything else. And then we move them to the due diligence stage, where if you said you were making $500,000, we want to see it on paper. So basically, everything starting from identity documents to company financials, and those are absolutely confidential. We don't share it with anybody else. Those are our documents. We don't even share them as an incubator with immigration. Immigration is a completely separate process. We just write a letter of support and do our due diligence to pass it on to the immigration. And after the due diligence, every application is ideally looked by 5 to 6 external advisors that we have. We have a board of advisors. They come from being entrepreneurs, investors, tech experts, industry experts, coming from corporate backgrounds. So we match our advisory board with startups to even get feedback on, is this something which is scalable in this market, right? So we get 5 to 6 feedbacks on every application, and then as a selection committee we decide it's a go or a no go. In that case, we issue the letter of support for them, and they sign up for a 6 months incubation program with us, which means literally like you go to a hotel to start your business. You have everything packed up, you have everything which is there, you just get in there and we help you everything from setting up the office space to incorporating a company, legal, bookkeeping, compliance. We take care of everything else. And we also work with a lot of our ecosystem partners to help you do business development, to help you do marketing. So covering all aspects of the business.
Thank you so much, Neha. Radesh, you mentioned about you invested in 911 startups. So how do you discover startups? How do they discover you? And what's onboarding? Typically, how do you select them?
Yeah, so the startups that have come to us is either they have come to us directly, they reach out through the social media, or they come and directly apply to the website. Then I mentioned basically our Venture Labs was formed with 3 venture funds coming in as anchor investors. So one is Bloom Ventures, second is Benhamu Global Ventures, and third is Emergent Ventures. Bloom is based out of India, and BGV, Benhamu Global Ventures, and Emergent Ventures are based out of Bali, and they focus on B2B investments. So the few references coming from these 3 funds, their network. And then we also have quite a few investors, limited partners in our Venture Labs, who are basically senior folks in the Valley and in India. And so they also bring in their references. So basically, there are a lot of referral network that we have. And then basically, that's how we form that initial list of companies that we first study. And in terms of processes, it goes through around 3 to 4 levels of screening. And it goes through a couple of level of screening from myself, and then we have an investment committee consisting of myself and then a representation from 3 anchor funds. So it goes through that, and then we further validate by so if you're really sure about that particular company or that particular business area, then we take the decision. But if we are not, then we kind of refer it to the subject matter expert in that particular industry or in that particular technology area. Many times we get a potential customer to talk to the startup and see what his or her reaction is. And sometimes we say that, okay, let's wait for some time to see like how your growth has been in terms of revenues or the product features or the product market fit, and then we make that decision to invest or not to invest. So that's basically how we follow that.
And you mentioned about B2B startups. So any specific kinds of startups, or like seed stage, growth stage, what kind of startups would be ideal for you?
Yeah, so what we say is that we invest in startups which are at least having an MVP ready. But in terms of revenues, it has been quite varying. Sort of the 9 investments that we have made, 2 companies were having more than 1 million plus ARR. 2 companies were pre-revenue, and the rest of the companies were in the range of 50K to 100K ARR. So that has been a kind of the difference has been quite vast in terms of the kind of startups that we have invested. And you also asked about the process of onboarding. It's we don't follow a cohort system. It's like basically it's an ongoing basis as and when the startup comes in, we go through that whole due diligence, IC, and all that, and then make that investment. So and that typically in the initial days, and ours is a very hands-on approach where we actually work with the portfolio companies on different aspects of the business, right from product to product market fit to go-to-market, the channel strategy, and also make those connections in our network. Initially, the frequency of calls with the portfolio companies are very high. It's basically from 1 week to 2 weeks, and then later on it kind of reduces.
Vinuja, T-Hub has a gamut of services and offering for the startups, but in the context of this global opportunities, like T-Hub also takes Indian startups get exposure to the outside of ecosystem and get others to get into the India also. So what kind of startups are ideal for you, and how startups are onboarded for those programs that you are creating?
International programs or across the programs, you say?
International programs.
So international programs, for example, most of our international programs, we work with partners in those geographies. We have currently 3 programs running. One is with US, we are running a program called Trestle, where we have partnered with Silicon Valley FalconX, which is an organization that supports entrepreneurs, and they're all Indian entrepreneurs who have settled there and have done well for themselves. So they are all extending their hands to really help our startups, find a foothold over there. So that's one program where we have partnered with FalconX. Then we have another program which we are running with Korea right now. In fact, we just did the 2nd session this morning, and this is a very exciting, program too, because these startups are again across. I was there throughout the jury, and it was very interesting to see that problem statements are not that different. The way that they have articulated or the way they have built the product, but then of course market fit, pricing, these become very, very critical when they're looking at entering into a new market. So that is where really T-Hub uses its lens when they're picking up. We are picking up companies. One is, yes, great company, but second is what is our ability and what is the potential of that company to expand in India. So we are very brutally honest in that way as to say that, okay, this works, this does not work. And that comes from, again, we worked with over 650 plus incubated companies over the last 5 years. 650 plus companies have been through various of our programs. So we have seen a lot of different types of companies. So that's how we select for various of these programs.
Yep.
The international program.
Yep. Yeah. And how startups can discover those programs, apply for that? Typically, what's the process?
So discover, I mean, I think the network ecosystem itself is very, very well networked. So I think we do a lot of outreach through our partners. We are there on social media. We are there on, and then, we are pretty well followed across all of our channels. So that's, and of course, for most of our programs here, Indian programs, I think word of mouth has been the strongest way that we got the maximum word of mouth, nominations. In fact, we go back to our, we work with over 60 plus investors from across India. When we say work, it is basically to understand in and out, like Radesh just told, really understand their investment thesis, find the companies that work for them, and then go back to them with that list and work with them closely. So we ask the investors to nominate too. So we want the, one thing is to launch an application. In fact, right now we have Lab 32 program, which is an ongoing application process. And the same thing, right? So it's a beautiful program that we have redesigned after the COVID crisis hit, because we understood before the focus was more on mentoring and investments, but now it's more about sustenance. People need to figure out a way to stay alive and focus on building a product that works, designing a product that works in this market, and being able to market that product. So we've shifted our focus that way. And the kind of applications that we are getting for this batch will be very different from what we got, because the outcomes are defined differently. So it's a very changing landscape, as you say right now.
Thank you so much. You mentioned about you work with international corporations also. So do you work with international startups, or if you can share a little more on that context?
Yeah, we do work. Sorry.
Yes, Annie.
It's me who is answering.
Yes, it was for you.
Okay, so yes, sure, we are working with Russian corporations and with the international ones, and all our programs are actually very connected to the needs of the large corporations we are working on it with. So actually, now we are actively looking for international startups as well, and we are cooperating with them in order to match them with the corporate partners. So just to give you the examples, as to the geography, we are not limited in some areas, because actually it depends on the needs of our partners. So recently we worked with, for example, with the largest producer of tubes and pipes in Russia. And as they are the largest Russian company working in this industry, they know already the landscape in Russia, but they were very interested in international technologies to work with. So particularly with them, we looked for international startups or foreign startups who are able to solve their challenges. In terms of conditions on working with within such acceleration programs, we are calling them industrial acceleration, because actually we do not provide some workshops or whatever on building the product. We are working with quite mature startups with ready products, or at least ready MVP and prototype, to test them within the industrial facilities. So the main requirement for the startup is to be ready to test the technology within the industrial facilities of our corporate partner. Also, also we are facing the new reality, but as we are working with with largest industrial companies, sometimes it's necessary to travel to be able to test the technologies within the facilities, within the real plants or whatever. So and also in terms of conditions, we don't invest in startups and we don't take any equity, but at the same time the participation for startup is always free of any charge. And we try to cover the expenses they have in order to test the technology. So basically, we are talking about pilot projects. Yes, and in order to apply to participate in such programs, we always have a landing page of the program when we discuss very specific use case, very concrete use case, and challenges of our partners. So basically, startup can see what we are looking for, and can apply directly. But also we have like a large network of our ecosystem partners, innovation ecosystem partners, and we are asking them to advise us really good technologies and solutions so we can do a remote expertise and then to select for the industrial piloting.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Annie. So now we'll have a lot of early stage startup founders will be watching this video. So the first thing is established. These are the great offerings, great deals. And as a startup founder, I want to be part of it. So the next question is, how do I get selected? And what's the deal? Like, do you have to pay money certain or what's the equity? So Neha, what's the deal to get selected? And what would be your advice to founders if they do certain things? There are very high chances of they getting selected. And do you take equity? Do you charge? What's the deal? Neha, you'll have to unmute yourself. Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry. So yes. So in terms of criteria, like I said, we're pretty sector agnostic, and the stage of the startups is also pretty widespread, where we're looking at people as well. So I think if I have to nail down the criteria on this, looking at pre-revenue and looking at very growth stage startups as well, the criteria basically is threefold. One, amazing founding team. We bet on people. That's all we can do. And the second one is market validation. So market validation comes in a few forms, right? So market validation comes in terms of revenues, in terms of paying customers. So we want to see that you've got a product market fit somewhere in the world. It doesn't necessarily have to be in this market. Or you have IP which you want to commercialize, like startups with like let's say biotech or life sciences kind of startups. They don't make money very early on, right? So in those cases, do you already have some kind of IP? You're working with universities for R&D, and that's the similar thing you would want to come do here as well. So like looking at from a perspective where has the groundwork been done, even getting to an MVP stage. We've done a few pre-revenue companies as well, and I think out of 5 of those, 2 of them had their IPs already registered, and they wanted to commercialize those. So it's a mix in that case. So market validation is the second one, and the third one is obviously relevant to this market, right? What is scalable? That's why if I say we've approved 55, 60 startups last year, it's pretty much been, at least what we've seen from India is, like Radhe said as well, a lot of B2B, a lot of tech startups. We've got a few which were from Europe, or we have one from Turkey as well, which is not a tech startup. So it's like 1 out of 60 comes out to be not tech. But otherwise, I think with the trends as well, what we've seen a lot of health tech coming in. Definitely the big portion of it is SaaS startups. And then there is a lot of traction on AI startups as well, because we as Toronto as a location is also becoming the AI hub of the world, with everything including talent and infrastructure as well. So that's where the interest is coming from as well. And we do not charge equity at this point in time. We do not charge equity because we started to look at mature entrepreneurs who've gotten to a certain stage. So we don't look at charging equity, and we are a nonprofit. So we try and make the program sustainable as much as possible. So we charge 30,000 Canadian dollars for a 6 months program, and up to 5 founders in a company are eligible for the program.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. Vinuta, you must be getting a lot of application for the programs that you run. So what is the key criteria you look at, and what's the deal that startups get?
Sure. So for us, as I said, because of the multiple programs within Startup Innovation, we have 4 programs. Corporate Innovation is a different story altogether. So eligibility criteria itself cannot really be defined because it's from program to program. But typically, if I were to say it is not at idea stage, we don't pick up companies at an idea stage, even at an MVP stage, not really. We pick up companies only after they have figured out their product market fit. Maybe not exact, like not fully like comfortable with it, but they have some pilot customers, they're getting some revenues in, they probably still need to get like to version 2. So that is the stage of companies that we typically pick. And like Neha just said, team is of course the most critical part when we are picking up an early stage company. Nothing can come second, right? So I think those are the two main things that we look at during our entire interview process. Then what they get is a lot actually when they're part of T-Hub ecosystem. Now we miss our beautiful building, like half of our staff is going in, but half of them are not yet. And we are seeing some startups back. But the beauty of that place is just the vibrancy and the amount of traffic that it used to see, right? From investors to corporates or government officials who would walk in and out at any given day, and there's just a lot that can happen over coffee, basically in T Hub. That's what has been our experience. And that is the main one intangible benefit that you get by being part of this community. But apart from this, even in the virtual world, we have quickly adapted, and I think we have been doing so many virtual connects. We've just tracking a couple of days back, and it's already running into thousands of connects that we are doing virtually. So I think we have adapted to virtual connects now. So I think that whole connects network is the biggest thing. Apart from that, of course, we work with over 50 plus service providers who extend various credits to us, and the total amount of that runs into, for any startup, the benefits run into a substantially big amount if they really utilize it properly. And definitely mentorship. So one of the specific focus that me and my team bring to the entire programs across T-Hub is mentorship. So we do realize that the most important thing at an early growth stage company for any startup would be to get that person, or that two, three people sometimes are required, but really get the right kind of advice for them to figure out their problems. Acknowledge what is wrong, what is going wrong, and then correct them. So that is where we have really built a very robust process of finding the right mentors, training them, or supporting them and doing their job as a mentor best, and then really being there for both the mentor and mentee through that conversation. So
Correct.
I think that those are the main takeaways for the startup.
I believe for different programs it would be different, but do you charge equity, or there
We
is
do not charge equity. We stay clear of equity. We do have program fees, which again changes from program to program. Most of our previous programs used to include seats plus program fee, but now with the current format, we are relooking at that pricing model too.
Okay.
Again, it is varied. It's very varied, but again, we are a not-for-profit, so it's very reasonable.
Correct. Rather, for a VC fund, the model is quite clear in a way, but you must be getting a lot of startup application. Now in India, there is the rise of B2B startups. What would you recommend to the startups? If they do things in a certain way, there are very high chances of they getting selected.
Yeah, I think the first thing is basically that they need to look into the business problem that they want to solve. And typically, the way I have seen is that, especially in the B2B side, is that the founders in the previous experiences have experienced those problems, and that's how they come out and solve those particular problems. So, if a guy is working on logistics, so he can see some certain areas of problem in that area. So, he basically floats a company which solves specifically those problems. So, fundamentally, what they first need to look into is that what business problem they want to solve. And second is that how big is the total addressable market for that particular business problem. So if it is very small, I guess it doesn't make sense for a company to go ahead. But if it's a large problem, then it's great uh, indication to pursue further. And the third thing they probably need to see is that what are the different players, who are the competitive players in that space. And if already there is a lot of deeply entrenched players in that space, if it is a completely wide space, then perfectly just go ahead and do that, provided that it's fulfilling those first two conditions that I had mentioned. But let's say if there are a lot of players, then they need to figure out is that what are the key differentiations that I'm going to offer, whether it's going to be on my distribution, whether it's going to be on my product, or whether it's going to be on my go-to-market side. And if they are convinced that they're going to have a clear differentiation against, but it's going to be economic differentiation. So the startup is going to be convinced about those differentiations, and then basically can go about strategy there. And then I think the most important aspect is the execution. Then that's where the founders, the ability for the founders to execute and how good they are becomes very super important.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Any, in a way, similar questions. What would you recommend startups? And what's you mentioned about you working with startups. So do you charge money? You charge fees, or typically how's the transaction happens? Yes, Annie.
Yeah, so basically it's a fund. We put money and then we get equity in return.
Yep.
That's a very clear model.
And any in your case?
Yeah, so actually, yes, we are working with foreign startups as well. We don't charge them and we don't take any equity. So basically, every program that we have with the corporate partners is absolutely free of any charge for startups. And on behalf of the corporate partners, we provide paid pilot projects for the startups, and of course the opportunity to test the technology within the production facilities of our partners. In terms of the requirements for startups, as the colleagues here, we are working with mature startups who are ready to be implemented or to work with like big corporations. Sometimes, and like actually practically always, we are looking for the startups who have legal entities. So it's more easier for big companies to work with already with the legal entity. Also, sometimes we have a requirement regarding the intellectual property. So actually, it's always dependent on the requirements of our corporate partners.
Correct.
But yeah, basically, we are looking for mature startups ready to work with big companies, ready to adjust their processes to the processes of big corporations, because sometimes it's very tough to wait until the decision is taken. Like not everybody has such patience to wait. But yeah, we are trying to facilitate the process for the startups and corporates.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And at these panels, one of the things we try to do is to have panelists ask questions to each other, so we get some great insights. So Neha, if you were to ask a question to any one of the panelists, what would be that question?
Sure. I think we always look for partnerships, and the panelists I have here, we do look for partnerships with entities who have skin in the game, which are incubators, which are funds as well. So my question would be, if this, how does it become essential? How much it becomes essential for you to bring up global opportunities for your startups as well, in an incubator, in a fund as well, because you guys have skin in the game. So how important and how critical does it become even more in these times?
So very thesis of Arca Ventures Labs is in that direction. Rajesh, what would be your answer?
Yeah, I mean that's what our base is in terms of helping startups to you know pivot towards the US, and the way they can move to the US is basically connect. That is the first, the mental part. Second is connects to the right set of people in the Valley ecosystem as well as the US ecosystem. Third is basically connects to potential clients in the US. And the fourth would be connects to the VCs, so who will come in the next round. So yeah, this is basically what our basic premises of working with B2B startups.
Vinutha, what would be your answer to this?
I think there will be a lot of overlap in a way, because yeah, we work with multiple. We work with at least over 40 countries right now, and at different levels of conversations, Neha. And one of the things that we definitely look at is from the partner's point of view. We try to align what they can bring and what we can bring, and at the end of the day, it it is very essential. Right now, if I have to, we cannot, given T-Hub is what it is, we cannot really stop at a certain stage. We need to be able to give the full stack of services for our startups, right? So that is why how the international programs, though we have been doing it from day one, it has started taking a lot more of our time in the last few quarters, because we are seeing a lot of traction there. Right from the ITOs, various international trade offices approaching us, and we talking to them about what would be the kind of startups that they would look. And some countries have very specific sectors that they're looking to attract entrepreneurs from. So we can run, events or initial discovery platforms for them. And then, of course, build a full-fledged end-to-end program, which is what we have done in all the three cases that I've seen with US market as well as with Korea and Sweden.
Yeah, no, because we've seen a crazy uptake during the COVID time more so. We've seen such a crazy uptake of the program as well. And to you at T-Hub, we did do a delegation in India in January just before everything shut down. We did it with the city of Brampton because like I said, we don't work as an entity only. We look at all kinds of innovation corridors where we try to fit startups wherever they fit best, right? So let's say agri-tech startups don't fit in Toronto downtown. So what is a better support location for them? So like Brampton looks at advanced manufacturing and cybersecurity startups. So we work with our peers, but it's been really crazy to see that during COVID, I know our mentors had a lot of time to give us anyway, but we've seen such a spike in our applications from all over the world, including India a lot.
Absolutely. This has been quite revealing in a way. A lot of things have come out and clear during this crisis. Even with respect to partnerships, we used to think having that coffee was very important in person, but things are working smoothly, even though we don't meet each other, things are working very well.
Correct. You want to respond to that? And then what question?
Yeah, actually, absolutely agree with you. What we have noticed, it's like when COVID starts, we had a scouting program for the shell pipe, for the tubes and pipes industry corporate partner. And we were looking for foreign startups for this program. And actually, at the beginning, it was very tough because startups were focused on solving their urgent problems. Like there is no way we participate in some industrial acceleration or something because all the forces should be focused on solving like real problems, how to support concrete customers that they have already. But then, I think that people are very adaptive. So we are ready to face the new conditions, and we can see it from whole the ecosystem, innovation ecosystem. We see it from our startups, and even with large corporations, we have succeeded to transform their activities in a new way. So yeah.
Awesome. And if you were to ask question to all of them or one of them, what would be that? We'll complete this cycle.
Yeah, probably I would ask, could you share the best practices of cooperating with innovation ecosystem players from all over the world? If you have any partners, what are the best practices? How do you support each other? How do you provide any assistance for the startups of your partners? So what it would be?
So can I go with that first? Yeah, thanks. So Ani, very nice question actually. I think what happens with most ecosystem partners, and I'm going to be super honest here, right? So we all have the best of intentions. We come together often and we decide, okay, we're going to do this together. But most often than not, we have other priorities and that kind of goes into the background. So I think where partnership really will happen is because when we have a combined, when we have a common vision, where you and I are looking at the same things, that is when partnerships will really become successful. So that is what we have discovered, that you have to have alignment and not try to force fit just because we have a great rapport, just try to force fit that relationship. So I think that's the main thing there about partnerships and how to make them work, to find that one area that we are both really excited about and only work on that to start things off. With respect to, I think best practices is that communication is again a very, very key thing, because across time zones, mainly when you are working with organizations across the world, we find that, I mean, even though it is just right now, the current project is with Korea, even though it's not many hours apart, there is still going to be that communication, which is a challenge always. So having that flexibility to be able to, and not only for yourself, but even to your stakeholders. Like, for example, when I had to introduce this program to my mentors, I clearly told them that this is going to be in that time zone. So, sometimes you'll have to be flexible to take an off hour. So I think that communication becomes very clear, and setting those expectations have to be very, very clear from day one. It will just give us more opportunities to work together and really build something together. That's my take on that.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Rajesh?
Yeah, so basically, I was, before starting Arca Venture Labs, I was heading the startup initiative of IBM India, where I worked primarily with a lot of B2B startups. And so, I mean, from the key important lessons that I learned there was that startups typically look for four things. One is basically cash. I mean, basically, these are four things which are useful for them. One is cash. Second is credits. Third is connects to potential customers. Fourth is inputs on their businesses. And I figured out that, the connects to the customers is, I think, something that we from an IBM was very instrumental. So that's what we focused on, and it turned out to be pretty well. Obviously, we had this credit programs and stuff like that, but fundamentally it was the connects and the mentoring inputs, which I think did very well. And so, to just give an example, we started off with zero presence in the startup ecosystem in India, and we had 1,200 startups as part of the program, and I had left IBM at that point in the span of 3.5 years. And the other important thing has to be looked into is that uh, from a corporate perspective is that what is in it for the corporate to engage with the startup. Whether this will lead, I mean, they are looking to engage with startups is from an acquisition point of view, or is it from a joint solution point of view, or is it that looking to work with startup as a customer? And so this becomes super critical. I was also advising quite a few corporates during my stint, given the success story that I had with IBM. I had I had advised banks as well as financial institutes and telecom companies on the way they need to engage with startups. And once these questions are answered, then it becomes like, and then the other way is that some corporate would like to get the startup to use just their solutions. So, or they will probably look to do is that they want developers to engage with them. So once these questions are answered, then the strategy and the tactics around engaging with startups that gets drawn out.
Awesome. Neha, you want to respond to that, or we'll just finish the other
Yeah,
stuff?
I think what I've also figured out working with a lot of partners is it has to be a win-win. I mean, you have to look at the value you bring to the actual customer, which is in your case corporate or a startup. Like I can do a press release with T Hub and give them everything that we're partners in North America and everything else. If I can bring legit value to the startups, it's gonna die down. So I think win-win, and again, like Radesh said, there are absolutely top four things startups look for. The first one, as much as they would say, oh, advisory is important, mentorship, everybody needs the money. You gotta have that cash to do it. You gotta have that customer to get that cash. So I think those are very, very important. And with that, the advisory brings in a lot of value, a lot of strategic use of that cash as well. So I think a win-win both ways. What we offer them, it doesn't really matter if we are a non-profit entity or they are a for-profit entity. Like Radesh has the key goal of the the fund is to make money, and I think that's never a bad thing to do, right? I don't even look at this entity as a non-profit, because if I have a non-profit mindset, I don't know what kind of value can I bring to startups, right? Then I can only talk about free credits, office space, and all of that. If I cannot get them the first customer in North America, or at least try my best to get them to do that kind of business development and customer acquisition here, it will die down.
Correct.
So win-win is the way to go.
And Radesh, if you were to ask question to one of them or all of them, what would that be?
How do you define your success when you're engaging with startups? Is it that?
And we could do a fireside chats with each all of you individually, but you can try to give it in a one line answer so that we'll complete this cycle and get to that. Yes, but Vinudha, you want to respond to that?
Yeah, I think there every win, Radesh, is your win. I think any of our startups, get a big customer, or they, raise a big round, or even getting a great press release. It's just a lot of satisfaction. So I think that is the qualitative aspect of success that we look at. So the quantitative aspects would be, of course, the mortality rate, how many startups, given that we work with later than idea stage, MVP stage, we really don't see very high mortality that way. But yes, those are the percentages that we track for our startups. How many startups have raised Series A and above? How many startups have been in the ARR of 500K or 1 mil and above? So those are the metrics that we track.
Yeah.
But
And
success is, of course, it keeps changing from startups to startups. Some startups just do wonders by not clocking that 1 mil ARR also. So yeah.
correct. Neha?
Yeah. For us, Radesh, I think it is survival of whatever you get here, survival of whatever we bring in here, and obviously that's all on our selection and all on our support as well. That coming absolutely to a new market, like in India, we always say, how do you get to Silicon Valley? And what we are trying to say is, maybe you don't have to go to Silicon Valley. Eventually, yes, but you don't have to start there. You can be in very candid words, you can be in a very kind cousin's house, who can help you with all of that, and you can get there the best way you can, right? So I think for us, it's always been how many got in and how many actually survived. So we do track our startups for over 2 years as well. We don't take credit for it as much as we support them. We're like, yes, the aim of the program is how many survive, how many potential innovative businesses did we actually land and they actually scaled and grew in our ecosystem.
Yeah, awesome. Annie?
Yeah, for us, it's very easy because actually we are measuring the success by the numbers of pilots with startup corporates are implementing after our programs. So our main KPI is the number of pilot projects we have after the program, and it's very efficient actually to measure the outcome, because you see the real result.
Awesome. And Vinudha, we'll finish this cycle with your question.
So just because we have very less time, I'm going to ask a short question, mainly to Neha and Annie, because Radesh and me both are in India. But I wanted to understand in both Russia as well as in Canada, what would be the women entrepreneurship scene, just from the understanding point of view? How is it going, or like, is there a special push from the government side for encouraging women entrepreneurship? Just some light on that.
Annie?
Yes, from
Yes.
I go ahead, Annie.
Yes,
Annie,
yes, yeah.
take it first.
Maybe you first. I'm trying to figure out if I know any any programs.
I think from Canada perspective, a lot of push, as much as I'd rate it at the level where we are pushing. Oh, we are the AI hub of the world. It's that level of push for even women entrepreneurs. There are crazy amount of government grants. There are crazy amount of funds for women in tech kind of startups as well. And even like we've been a very old entity, and we also run a lot of city programs, which are not necessarily startup programs, but therefore entrepreneurial programs for people who are out of jobs or on social assistance or disabled and even in that, given that and plus what they look at the innovation sector for, a lot of push has been. I mean, so many of our fund managers in big VCs are women. We have business development Bank of Canada, which has a big fund for women in tech startups as well. So there is definitely a push. So if you're a woman doing anything in tech, you've got the limelight. So
I'll reach out to you again then.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Any?
I suppose that we have some kind of program which supports women, but I'm not sure if it's like a government support or it's a private initiatives. But we have communities of women CEOs who are supporting each other. We have definitely like some awards for women entrepreneurship, and we have an association which is called Women on Advisory Boards and on the boards of director, which are helping every woman to upskill and to facilitate their career path. In terms of it's just a joke, but we say here that like if you see that the project is working good, don't interfere to the women to do this. So
Okay.
so yeah, definitely
Sure.
it exists, but in our accelerator, we don't divide some women entrepreneurship or men entrepreneurship. It's
No, the objective of the question was not to divide, but just to, it's just, I think it's important that we talk about it as and when we get an opportunity. That's why I asked you both, given that you're also both ladies. So
yes, thank you so much. There were a lot of, so typically when we do this thing, this helps me improve my question bank. So when I moderate a next event, I ask those questions. And thank you so much. We are towards the last part of this entire summit. And so one of the things we tried in all the sessions, and we will try this and we'll end with that also, is if you were to get a superpower to be able to do your job well or to do your work and help more startups, what would that be? So we will start with Annie. Annie, if you were to get superpower, what would that be?
A superpower?
Yep.
I think that I have a new idea of a superpower because of the new reality. I would like to travel across the borders with no limits.
Awesome.
It helps.
So this superpower has been assigned to you. So others will not be able to claim that.
I'll try tonight.
Vinuta?
I wish you grant me this, Jatin, really, but I wish there was an angel which was, reading all my emails and responding to them on time and, filling up all that is required to be filled up. So that would be super good.
Awesome. That was it. So what we do is typically the ending these Zoom calls becomes very tricky. So Neha, once you, I'll ask Radesh and then you, and once you end your sentence, I'll end this call. So we'll end on a high. So Radesh, what superpower you would like?
I think I would basically look into setting up foundation for transforming villages around in India to be a model villages. So where I define a model village where We are independent in terms of the education or healthcare or sanitation, water requirements, and or even the electricity requirements, renewable energy, organic farming. So a bunch of things which will be there in the model village. So that's my objective.
Wow. And I'll just do a couple of announcements. So because I'll just end the call once Neha finishes her sentence. Thank you so much everyone for joining in. We 19th session started on time, finishing on time, and of course the content was good, but basics were also good. So thank you so much everyone. And Neha, the final sentence, and I'll end the call.
I think the superpower that I believe everything we do in life is due to only two things: fear and greed. And I think I would like to have a superpower where I can instigate impact to be another way and why we would do something in life. And I think that just that impact for everybody to realize that you just got to make a dent in the universe. And how do you do it is just about how you will end up starting for it as well. So
Awesome.
I think that's the superpower I want. And thank you
so
so
much
much.
everyone. I'll do the email introduction with all of you.